Hi, my name is Ed, and as you know by the name of my YouTube channel, I'm an atheist, and I love talking about religion and what goes on in religion, and the idea of being a non-believer as compared to being a believer. Sunday, I went to church. Now this is not something new for me, and you might ask the question, well, hold it, you're an atheist. Why would you go to church? Well, there's a couple of answers. I might have answered these before, but one of them is I'm curious about what they do in church, and I'd like to. I like the idea of presenting myself there to the people who are there. Not in the middle of the sermon or anything like that, but after the sermon, I'd say, "Hey, I'm a non-believer." Now, it's interesting. I've gone to many church services in the last 2 years as an atheist. Here's one of the things I find. All of these churches that I've been to are some denomination of Christian church. One is a Pentecostal church that I've been to many times, maybe, I don't know, maybe 40 times. Others call themselves Christian fellowships. I think they're trying to be non-denominational, and they appeal to born-again Christians and those kind of people. Anyway, one of the common things that I notice when I go to these churches is that in the conversation part after the sermon, we get talking. And invariably, these people are very friendly. "Oh, welcome to, nice to see you. I haven't seen you here before. Is this your first time, or where are you?" And they're really friendly. So very shortly into the conversation, I like to point out to them, by the way, I'm not a believer. I label myself as an atheist, and everything changes right then. All of a sudden, these people they're not unfriendly, but they seem to be, I think the word would be non-friendly. They're no more smiling and wanting to shake your hand or hug you or anything like that. But you get the feeling, and sometimes they actually say it, "We can fix you, no problem." And I'd like to point out to them, "Hey, I don't need fixing. I'm not lost. I don't have a problem or anything. I just happen to not believe what you believe." That's a typical experience that I have with, and I don't know what's going on there. I think the problem is, as soon as I say the word atheist, something goes into their mind that says, "This guy is a bad dude, he's dangerous," or I don't know, mean, immoral, or something. Something seems to happen to them like that, and they become very suspicious at best. And I'll often get this, "We'll pray for you." And I often think that every "we'll pray for you" or "bless you" has a secret little hidden "fuck you" in it. That's my own bias, but that's the kind of the feeling I get. So last Sunday I was at church, and I ended up after the sermon talking with one of the pastors. There's a very young pastor there, and I got talking with him and about the sermon, what was going on in the sermon and all that kind of thing. And I asked him about his beliefs. And I like to start, I figure it's a good place to start in Genesis. The problem is, once you get into Genesis, there's so much going on there that it's hard to get past it. But my take on it goes something like this. I present it. Look, according to Genesis, God made, in fact, it starts out with, God, or the book says, "In the beginning, God made the heaven and the earth. And I go, oh, to me, that sounds like a fairy tale. The interesting thing is how the book describes this cosmos that God made. It's like the earth is like a floor, and the sky or the heaven is like a firmament, is the word that they use. It's kind of like a ceiling, a way up high sort of thing. And the journalists, the people that wrote this stuff, they obviously got it wrong, because I'm sure if God made this shit, he knows that these things that he put up in the sky, they're not part of a ceiling or anything like that. And they never do get it right. Even in, when we go to the 66th book, I mean, we're still in Genesis. We're talking about the last book of the New Testament, which is the 66th book overall, Revelations. It talks about this situation at the end of time, how the stars actually fall out of the sky and land on the earth. Now, as soon as you hear that, as soon as I hear that, I know these guys that wrote this didn't know what the hell they were talking about. They even described them as, just a minute, yeah, stars fall out of the sky like figs falling off a tree in a wind. Now, figs are things about this big around, right? And so that was their concept of what the hell stars were. And 66 books later, they still haven't figured it out. You know, it's confusing to me. One of the other things, I talked to the pastor, this young pastor in this church. By the way, I don't know what makes him a pastor. When I asked them, how did you become a pastor? What they tell me is that God decided. God chose them to be a pastor. Once again, I don't know exactly what that means. Anyway, okay. One of the stories, we're still in Genesis, of course. Now here's the way the story goes. After God made the cosmos, that's supposed to be what he's doing, made the cosmos, which according to the book was basically a floor with a roof over it, by the sounds of it, the firmament. Then he decided that he's going to make a man. Not sure why he decided that. It turns out, according to my reading, that he wanted some people to worship him, to say, "Oh God, you're great, you're wonderful," and that's what it appears to me to be. Anyway, the first man, the book calls Adam, and the story tells us that he made Adam out of dirt, earth. Now, as soon as I hear that story, I'm wondering, oh, okay, just how did that go? He made Adam out of, now look, I'm Canadian, right? And I lived in Canada for the first 56 years of my life, and in wintertime, I've had the experience on occasion of making snowmen. So when I read this story about God makes Adam, I get this idea, okay, he's making him out of earth, so okay, how's he going to do that? Like, I know how we made snowmen. We took this ball of snow, and the snow was packing, and we rolled it into a bigger ball. And so I'm thinking, okay, he's got dirt, maybe put some water in it, and kind of so he makes Adam, and Adam's not a snowman, but you call Adam's the first dirt man, maybe. Okay? So the second part is, then he makes a man. Now, for some reason, he decides that Adam needs a partner or somebody for company, so he's going to make a woman. Now, he decided not to make the woman out of dirt, but to make her out of a bone from Adam, a rib. Apparently, Adam went to sleep, and God just took a rib out of him, and Adam didn't seem to notice the rib missing or anything like that, and there was no, I don't know, magic surgery, I guess, somehow. And then God proceeded to make Eve out of a bone. Okay, now God made Eve out of a bone. I have no idea how's that supposed to happen. How you make a woman, a rib bone, like what, is a chunk like this or something? How he made a woman out of that is another magic secret, I guess, but somehow he ended up with this woman with all the accoutrements of women, sort of thing. Little problem. Eve, God told Adam and Eve, look, you can have anything you want in the garden, there's trees and everything, but there's one special tree that you can't touch, you can't eat the fruit of. It's called, that tree is the knowledge of good and evil. Eve, being maybe a typical woman, I don't know, curious or something, she happened to wander near this tree. And she ends up talking to a snake. And more interestingly, the snake talked to her. The snake told her, said, look, I know that fuddy-duddy God guy, he told you you're going to die if you eat this fruit. That's crap. You know, you can eat this fruit. So Eve ate the fruit. Now, my take on it is that by eating that fruit, Eve gained the understanding, the knowledge of the difference between good and evil. And I think, you know, I think if I believed this fairy tale, I would say, you know what? Eve is the person that got us our sense of morality. I think, according to the story, that's where morality came from. The big thing is that, first of all, when I go to church, I have this incredible experience that when the people think I'm one of them, it's like, oh, wonderful, we love you, it's really nice to meet you and everything. And then after I announce that I label myself an atheist, I don't believe in any God, it's, oh, well, maybe we can fix you or something, you know. It's not life challenging. You're going to survive. We're going to fix you up. Even though I think I don't. The other thing is how the writers got it so wrong. If this dude that knows everything and made everything, how the writers got so wrong, what the heck the stars were and all of that. So the third thing is that, as far as I'm concerned, Eve is the mother of morality, according to the Christian doctrine. And that's all we're going to do for today in this video.